The knock never came, just a heavy boot slamming my front door wide open. A man in a cheap uniform barged into my living room, his badge swinging on a plastic chain like something from a Halloween store. "This neighborhood is HOA property," he barked, his hand already on the gun at his side. My son froze on the couch, his comic book sliding from his lap. Then the man drew the gun and pointed it straight at him. My blood turned cold. "You're trespassing, both of you," he growled, his finger trembling on the trigger. Before I could move, my boy stood up slowly, his hands calm, his eyes steady in a way that didn't fit his age. He pulled back his jacket, and the room shifted in a heartbeat. The shiny silver of a federal Marshal badge caught the intruder's eye. My son's voice was low, unshaken. "Put the gun down before you regret it." The fake cop's face drained of color, and for the first time, his bluff didn't look so strong.
The fake cop's gun wavered, his confidence melting like ice under fire. He stammered, This is an HOA operation. You don't understand." But his voice cracked halfway. My son didn't flinch. He stepped closer, badge shining under the dim lamp, his stance firm, trained. "Federal jurisdiction outranks your little game," he said, each word cutting sharper than the last. I could see the man's hand shake now, his fingers sliding off the trigger as if it suddenly weighed 100 pounds. Then, almost on cue, two more figures appeared at the door, one in a matching knockoff uniform, the other with a clipboard full of fake notices. Karen. She strutted in like she owned the house, her voice sharp as broken glass. "Arrest them both! They refuse to follow HOA rules!" she screeched, not even noticing the badge in my son's hand. Her arrogance filled the room, but the silence that followed was heavier. My son turned his head slowly, eyes locking on her, and said, "Lady, you just gave an order to attack a U.S. Marshal in his own home."
Karen's smirk cracked the moment the words sank in. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers, pages scattering across my floor like dead leaves. That's impossible," she stammered, backing toward the door. The fake cop, still frozen with his gun half raised, looked at her like she'd just signed his death warrant. My son didn't blink. "You've impersonated law enforcement, threatened a civilian child with a firearm, and trespassed on federal property," he said, his voice steady but sharp enough to cut stone. Karen's face went pale. She lunged for the door handle, but before she could twist it open, red and blue lights flashed through the window. Real sirens screamed down the street, stopping right outside the cabin. The timing was surgical. My son had already radioed backup the second that gun was drawn. Karen froze, trapped between the law she thought she controlled and the one she had just awakened. The look in her eyes was no longer power. It was pure panic.
The front door burst open before Karen could speak, and two real deputies stormed inside with weapons drawn. Their flashlights cut across the room, landing on the trembling fake cop still holding his pistol. "Drop it, now!" one of them barked. The gun clattered to the floor as he raised his hands high, sweat pouring down his face. Karen tried to step forward, her voice shrill and desperate. "Wait, this is all a misunderstanding. I was only enforcing HOA rules." The deputies turned their beams on her, confusion twisting quickly into disbelief. "Lady, HOA doesn't come with handguns and fake badges," one officer snapped. My son held up his real badge, letting it gleam under the light. The deputies froze, straightened, and saluted without a second thought. "Marshal, we've got this." Karen's jaw dropped, her fake authority evaporating in an instant as she realized the people she thought were her pawns now outranked her in every possible way.
Karen's lips trembled as she tried to claw her way back into control. "You don't understand," she blurted, her voice cracking. "This whole neighborhood is under HOA jurisdiction. We have the right to regulate who lives here." She pointed at me like I was the criminal, her fingers shaking so hard it looked like it might snap. The deputies didn't move, their patience thinning. My son tilted his head, calm as ever, and asked,
Show us the law that says you can threaten children with a gun. Karen's eyes darted everywhere, searching for an escape. She reached down to grab one of the scattered papers, waving it in the air. Here, it's written. But as the flashlight caught it, the truth unraveled. The paper wasn't an official notice. It was a printout from a word processor, fake stamps and all. The deputies exchanged a look, and one of them muttered, "Forgery, impersonation, armed threat. She's going away for a long time." Karen's shoulders sagged, the clipboard slipping from her hand again. For the first time, her voice was barely a whisper. I just wanted control."
Before Karen could spin another excuse, the sound of footsteps echoed outside. Porch lights flicked on one by one, and neighbors began gathering, drawn by the sirens. Phones were out, cameras rolling. Karen's face twisted as the deputies pulled her hands behind her back, the metallic click of cuffs snapping shut louder than her protests. "You can't do this to me! I'm the HOA president!" she shrieked, thrashing in their grip. The crowd laughed bitterly, some even cheering. One man shouted, "Hey Karen, still think you own the street?" Another yelled, "Smile for Facebook, sweetheart!" She turned scarlet, eyes wild, realizing her power had not only crumbled, but turned into public humiliation. The fake cop was shoved to the ground, wrists zip-tied, his head hung low. My son stood tall in the doorway, badge gleaming, not saying a word. He didn't need to. The silence of authority weighed heavier than any speech, and every neighbor knew the truth now. Karen had picked the wrong family, the wrong house, and definitely the wrong son.